Welcome back, V.O.C. YouTube channel here, college football. Been a couple weeks. I'm back, going to finish out the rest of the college football season. This video, I'm going to really dive in quickly and firstly into the 12-team playoff and my first thoughts on it moving into next week's games and kind of where I think the committee did well, where they could be fixed, where we're heading forward with this. And then I'm really going to talk about the big swing North Carolina took by getting Bill Belichick as their head coach. So let's jump into it.
Third down for us.
When I first look at the 12-team playoff, the first installment of the 12-team playoff, which I like a lot, I like the idea of it. I like the premise of it. I think it's going to be very good for the sport moving forward. Do I think 12 teams is going to be where we're going to end? No. But look, I think at the end of the day, I think the committee got it right. I'm fine with Alabama not being in it. 3 losses, I'm fine. Now, a 3-loss team did get in, which I thought at the beginning of the year would happen in the argument for a 3-loss team, just the way that some of these games shape out and some of these conferences and the way teams play. It didn't shock me if a 3-loss team would get in or if an argument for a 3-loss team versus a 2-loss team. But at the end of the day, Alabama didn't get in. The committee really looked at who you lost to more than who you beat at the end of the day. They took a lot of value in your losses. Now you're going to say, Caleb, that argument doesn't fully support when you look at teams like Notre Dame, Indiana with their loss. But at the end of the day, they looked at Alabama and said, you have 3 losses, 2 of which were to Vanderbilt and Oklahoma, bad losses. They looked at Texas with 2 losses to the SEC champ Georgia, didn't really hurt them. They looked at Penn State's losses to another playoff team in Ohio State and to the eventual Big Ten champ in Oregon, who's their number 1 team, so they didn't really hurt them. They kept them in front of Notre Dame. So they looked at it and valued your losses and who they were to and how it happened versus really your wins, because based off of wins, Alabama has better wins than SMU. Clemson, granted Clemson had to get in, but Alabama has better wins than SMU, Indiana, teams like that. They have some better wins over them. But they looked at it and said, who did you lose to, how bad did you lose to, and when did you lose to them? Alabama losing to Oklahoma 3 weeks ago. They looked at that and said, whoa, Indiana's loss to Ohio State was later in the year as well. So they looked at those type of things. They also didn't hurt teams for losing conference championship games, which I think is the best part about this, because we can't damn you for making your conference championship and losing for playing an extra game. You make it there, that's big in itself. You win your division, you're ranked top 2 in your conference, you have a chance to win that game, and all of them were relatively close. So they looked at it and said, well, we're not going to hurt you too much, which I think is good moving forward. You set a good precedence there for now. Teams aren't going to look at it and say, well, if we play in a conference championship game and we lose, we're going to be screwed out of the playoff. That didn't happen, which is good. To me, Penn State got the easiest road in this playoff, and to me, they're the worst top 5 team. I think Oregon's better than them. I think Georgia's better than them. I think Texas is better than them. I think Notre Dame is better than Penn State if they played head up. So they looked at it as the easiest road. If you look at Oregon, you might have been better off to lose the Big Ten championship game, and your path may have been a little bit easier. But I think all of that will change moving forward. I think what will be changed or bettered is the seeding is the way it is because of how this is kind of just constructed with the buys. I think we're going to be going to 14. If it's not next year, it'll be the next year, where the top 2 teams get buys, which will basically be the SEC champ, Big Ten champ. And just because you win your conference, you're going to get into the playoff, but you're not going to get a bye. Because I think you look at it, and especially this year with Boise State and Arizona State, some teams, everybody's looking at these 2 teams get buys. Boise plays in the Mountain West. Arizona State plays in the Big 12. They're not on the same level with the Big Ten and SEC. And I think that will give, and then the seeding will change, and then you'll be seeded 3 through 14 based off of your record. So this year Texas would have been there, Penn State would have been there, Notre Dame would have been there, and then thereon. Then if you're the number 1 seed, you don't necessarily get stuck playing the 6th or 7th best team. You're better off, you're going to have a chance to play that 11th or 12th seed. And I think that's going to be kind of the things moving forward. I'm going to make my picks on the first games next week and kind of what I think is going to happen in the playoff. But I just wanted to kind of give a quick overview of the new 12 team, moving from 4, you expand it to now the 12 team. But I think the committee got it right in the way of the teams that they got, how they kind of seeded them. That was the best way to do it. Clemson at 12. Now, I think the one thing I would have done differently is I would have put Clemson at 11, SMU at 12. Clemson necessarily didn't have to be the 12th seed. That was kind of the thing we always talked about, but they didn't have to be the 12th seed because to me, Clemson beat SMU. Therefore, in a head-to-head like that, you put, in my opinion, the team that won ahead of the team that lost. That's just kind of how I view it. And that would have changed the path a little bit for a Penn State and kind of how we view this. But that was just my opinion. But other than that, I think all in all, pretty good. Not a lot of drama. We're not really fighting and arguing over the, Alabama, Miami. It's you lost to the teams you lost to. You lost late. You didn't get in. All right, look, North Carolina took the biggest swing since I would say Colorado 2 years ago when they hired Deion Sanders. They bring in Bill Belichick. Big deal, 72-year-old coach, a 5-year deal for $10 million a year. That makes Bill, I think, the 6th highest paid college coach. Granted, if he would have coached in the NFL, he would have made 20, 25 million. But I think it really comes down to the NFL didn't want Bill Belichick at the end of the day. Because when you get Bill, it's kind of all control, autonomy. He makes the decisions. I think the NFL views him without Tom Brady not as great of a coach as we think he is. And so I think that's why he kind of did this. I think he at first started this North Carolina buzz and interviews and talk about as a way to push NFL teams. But look, NFL teams didn't budge and they didn't look at it. And they said, we're not going to wait for you. If you want this job, go take this job right now. And why not if you're North Carolina, right? Look, you come in, you get what you want the most, right? And that's relevancy. And now we're talking about you. We're talking about your program. We're talking about you with Bill Belichick and everything that you have to offer and your uniforms and your great colors and your traditions and the campus. And you bring that all. So now you have kids and parents looking at you. And like I said, this is the same thing with Colorado and Deion, right? You bring the relevancy. You bring the talk about you. You are now the mecca of college football for the next year. Good or bad, people are going to be looking at you, talking about you. You just can't manufacture that. You go out and you get it, and that's what they did. Bill is the greatest NFL coach ever. There's no doubt about that. Arguably the greatest football coach of all time. Him and his best buddy Nick Saban, they fight for that. He knows football, and better than anyone in today's college football, he fits better now in college football than what he would have 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 3 years ago. He really fits into the new model of what college football is and kind of how it operates. Here's Bill Belichick on why not only college football, but also North Carolina.
I've always wanted to coach in football, coach in college football, and it just never really worked out. Had some good years in the NFL, so that was okay, but this is really kind of a dream come true. I grew up in college football with my dad. As a coach at Navy for 50 years, so as a kid, all I knew was college football, and so it's great to come back home to Carolina.
Now look, he is 72 years old. They just fired Mac Brown, who was 73, so it's kind of, okay, we're going from one older coach to a younger coach by a year. But look, Bill knows how to recruit. We should have seen this coming. His girlfriend's 24 years old. He's already got the youth. He can relate to younger people. He's figured that out. He's going to have the lingo, the talk, everything that's about it with younger people. It helps when you have a 24-year-old girlfriend. She can get her friends to come play for Bill, and that will work. But it really is, at his age, he's a football coach through and through, right? Like, there's some guys that are just going to die on the football field. And Bill talks about that, why still coaching at his age.
When you love what you do, and my dad told me this, when you love what you do, it's not work. I love what I do. I love coaching. I love the interaction with the players. I love building a team, working with the assistants, game planning, the game itself. which, there's some good ones, there's some bad ones, but they're all learning experience and working with, young kids who, with the energy, enthusiasm to want to be good, to want to be successful. It's great every day to wake up and come into that environment.
And this circumstance is going to be different than most college coaches in the way that's looked. He's going to be more of the CEO, the head of it, kind of delegate. He's already hired Mike Lombardi, who was a former NFL GM, and they've worked together for many years. He has NFL experience. His son is most likely going to become the defense coordinator. He talked about in his press conference how, he does want to look at some college coaches, but they're wrapped up in bowl games, and he's going to let them kind of do their due diligence there. But look, Bill's really just going to focus on football. He's going to focus on X and O's. He's going to recruit, but he's kind of going to be in as a recruiter as for the final push. This is what I can do for you. I can get you to the NFL. Look how many years I've coached in the NFL. Look how many Hall of Famers I've coached. Look how many players I've developed in the NFL. I know how to get you to that Pro Bowl level, that Hall of Fame level, and really mature you and ground you. And I think he's really going to lean into the development that he had in the NFL. He's big on development. He said that in his press conference. He's really going to lean on that. He's going to say, look, I developed Tom Brady. Took him in the 6th round and made him the greatest of all time. I think he's going to lean into that. NIL, I don't think Bill's going to sit there and break down numbers. I think that's going to be a Mike Lombardi thing. Bill's just going to be told, who do I have? What can be done with it? And if we need more money, he's going to be that way of, okay, how much money do we have? Do we need more money? How do we compete for that? You can't tell me that he's not making this decision. Julius Peppers was at the press conference. Lawrence Taylor, who is one of his favorite players, if not his favorite player he coached of all time, played at North Carolina. You got Michael Jordan. You got Jumpman himself. They're not all going to be involved and make an effort. He said he talked to them all. He's not going to come to North Carolina unless the right places or pieces are going to be put in place to be successful and to compete with all the other schools. So he's really going to focus on football, come in recruiting at the finish line, development, get you bought in on the NFL. Even if you're a late round pick, I'm going to help you be successful moving forward. So if you're North Carolina, you look at this, one of the best hires you can make. It gives you everything that you want. I don't know if this ends in a national title. I really don't know if it ends in that, honestly, or how long this is going to last. Like I said, he's 72. The contract's 5 years. Would I assume maybe 5 years and he's done? Maybe. But look, in the ACC, a 3-loss team just won the ACC in Clemson. That's how you get in the playoff. You went 6-6, I think, this year, I believe. They made a bowl game. You get a couple pieces, and you can really jump up. Look, Indiana was bad last year, 11-1. Playoff team. SMU, 11-2, playoff team. So you move forward in this. In today's college football, you get the chance with 12, maybe 14 moving forward. You just got to be there. You got to be 9-3, 10-2, have a chance to be in your conference championship game. So like I said, I don't know if it's going to end in a natty. Do I think it's going to be successful? Yeah, I don't think he's going to ultimately fail. I do not believe that. I think he's going to go out there every week with coaching and strategic advantage over every other coach in college football. It's just going to be, what does he have player-wise? But I think my two biggest things for his success are who's going to be the offensive coordinator, because I get defensively, I'm not worried about that. Bill knows defense. He's going to get the right players that fit in what he wants to do defensively. Schematically, he's going to outperform a lot of offensive coordinators in the way he views defense and how he draws it up. But I'm worried about offense coordinator. It's one thing that slowly derailed him with the Patriots, not only not really having a full quarterback, but offensive coordinator-wise. And then who's he going to get to be a quarterback? Who is going to be that guy that steps in and becomes a quarterback? Does he go after a transfer? They have a young recruit that is committed, not fully signed yet, but he's committed. He's a top 13, I think, quarterback, 4-star. Does he come in and kind of take over the reins, or does he go for a more veteran type? If he hits on those two, he's going to have immediate success, faster success. That's what's helped Deion at Colorado, where he gets Shador. Boom, you get a quarterback, you get another playmaker in Travis Hunter. Boom, you go from 4-8 one year, build a more team. You got 9 wins, potentially 10 wins. So I think that's going to be the thing. Like I said, anything can happen in today's college football. But I like this hire. If I'm North Carolina, he fits in the vibe of North Carolina. It's East Coast, academic-driven school. it works for him, and Bill's not going to take a job unless he believes it's going to work and be successful. That's what he said. He goes, I plan on winning here. So all in all, I like it. I think more positive is going to come from it than negative. And moving forward, I wonder if more colleges are going to start doing this, trying to get the bigger name, the flashier guy that gets kids, that galvanizes kids, builds relevancy, and where we just continue to talk about you. But look, I like the hire. I think it's going to be successful. I don't think it's going to be immediate success, but if you want 6-6, maybe we can go 8-4, 9-3. We start talking. Depends on the schedule, how everything plays out, who you get. Like I said, two biggest things for success: offense coordinator, quarterback. He hits those. Watch out. That's going to do it for today's video. Like I said, next week I'm going to make my picks on the playoff and kind of really dive into that, other bowl games. But other than that, thanks for watching.